Now for problem 5 and 6, we're going to go back and do a little bit of a review of some of the things that we've done. So let's look at number 5. The spectacular bike race is 400 miles long. Tyler has completed 5/8 of the spectacular bike race. How many miles has Tyler biked? So remember, this fraction bar, the neat thing about them is they can represent fractions. They can represent a long race. They're really versatile, which means you can use them in a lot of different ways, okay? So this whole entire blue bar, think of this as like the start line and this is the finish line. It is 400 miles long. So then when it says Tyler's completed 5/8 of it, we're going to take this and we're going to cut it into 8 pieces. And bear with me here. I'm going rogue and just using my little mouse. So I'm taking that race and I'm breaking it up into 8 pieces. So if I took 400 and I broke that apart into 8 different groups, I'm going to divide 400 into 8 groups. Well, I might not know what that is off the top of my head, but I do know that 8 times 5 gives me 40. So if 8 times 5 gives me 40, then 8 times 50 would give me 400. And I can double check that if I want. 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300, 350, 400. And this is saying that he completed 5/8 of it. So we're going to have 50 5 times. So then when I'm looking, well, how many miles did Tyler race? Then I can see if I put all those 50s together, then he would have done 50, 100, 150, 200. He would have done 250 miles. So the answer to number 5 is 250 miles. For number 6, we're also going to look at writing just an equation. We did a lot of work with this at the beginning of the year. So Talisha goes running on Pine Trail Loop in the park, which is 7/8 of a mile. So I know 7/8 is going to be important. One day she ran the loop 8 times. How many miles did she run? So if she did that 8 times, that means let's look and think about this in our brains. So she ran around the loop 1 time, and that was 7/8 of a mile. She did it a second time, another 7/8. A third time, another 7/8. Fourth time, another 7/8. I think you're catching my drift here. She did that 8 times. So we actually have 8 groups of 7/8. There's a couple different ways we could think about this. We know we just did, 7/8 plus 7/8, so that's 14, plus another 7, well, that's 21, plus another 7, well, that's 28. And we did a lot of work with this at the beginning of the year, and we noticed a pattern after a while. If I have 8 groups of 7/8, then I have this 7, my numerator, 8 times. Okay? So then my answer would be 56, okay, 56/8. And then when I look at that, I'm like, 56/8. Well, I already saw a pattern there with 8s and 56. So that means that in all, she ran 7 miles. Another way that you could do that we did in class, because that was a little confusing for some of my students. And so it was easier for them to see it like this. 7/8 plus 7/8 plus 7/8 plus. And we learned back in 3rd grade that repeated addition can be done quickly through multiplication. So let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ooh, we're getting close. So if these are all 8s and I'm trying to add up and see how many 8s I have in all, then I would have 56 8s. And since I know 8 times 7 gives me 56, this is a improper fraction, or sometimes we call it a fraction greater than 1. And so it's almost like whole numbers are just trapped in the numerator. And so it is our job, dun, 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 to go save them. So that would be 7 miles. And so 7 miles would be the answer to number 6.